The following podcast is brought to you by patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca. Like what you hear? Want more of it ad-free, uncensored, and earlier? Sign up today at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca and start getting more for as little as $2 a month.
Welcome to We Have Till 5, part of WrestleMedia, where everything is wrestling and wrestling is everything. I kind of wanted to do that a little bit like Bash Howard from Glow. That was kind of my inspiration on that one.
I picked that up.
Yeah, did you pick it up?
Yeah, I got there.
Good. Good.
Are you also just going to start throwing away your cue cards as we go through? Like, oh, this is stupid.
Yeah, I'm just going to, well, I mean, you never know. You're going to start talking about the moon cycles and
Don't tempt me.
I don't know what you're going to talk about. I would never tempt you to talk about the damn moon cycles, okay, pal? So how about you just chill on that. Cole, how you doing, man? How was your week off?
It was good. I went home for the weekend, had a ye old preaching engagement.
Oh, ye old preaching engagement, in fact.
Yeah, I got to speak at my home church, so...
Very cool, man. How'd that go? Everything
well,
good with that?
Well, I was not dragged off of the stage, so...
That's always good.
They didn't make me sit in the hall as they declared and discussed if I am a heretic or not. So, do you know what? It was positive.
Cole, just as, aspiring church leader to aspiring church leader, I think that your standards ought to be slightly higher than not kicked out for heresy.
Nobody walked out. Do you know what, Andrew? I set the bar really low because I've just had too much disappointment in my life that I can't really handle that negativity anymore, so... I'm going to accept what comes my way and not going to fight it.
If 50 people or less are booing you, it's a success.
Nobody threw a Pew Bible at me.
That's good, man. I'm glad that you didn't get lynched and chased with torches after bringing.
I've always wanted a good mob, though.
The heretical word. That would be cool, man.
I wouldn't be upset about being the center of a mob.
Oh my gosh.
It would be a story to tell the grandkids, if anything.
It would be a story to tell the grandkids. You're
when
not
I was
wrong about
chased
that.
out of church.
They were literally carrying pitchforks. I have no idea why they.
It was in downtown Toronto. Where do you buy a pitchfork? There's nothing to pitch.
Do you think? Have you ever been to a downtown Toronto Canadian Tire?
Yes. There are a couple.
What do they sell there?
They have all like hand tools and stuff because there are lots of people who do home renovations and stuff, or if you need to fix something.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
It's a lot of home appliances as well. No, I also haven't explored well, what's down aisle number 12? Like, I need to find out what aisle 12 is in this Canadian Tire.
I'm gonna go next time I'm in Toronto. I'm gonna make a point to go and see what they have it down.
Well, there's one at the
here in Northern Ontario.
Yeah,
really?
Well, right around the corner.
What the heck? Because, here, when I think Canadian Tire, I think, outdoor patio furniture.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
I think big barbecues. I think, garage, a lot of people up north, go bring their car, to their mechanic.
Well, when I was in Kenora,
Canadian Tire.
Something that was weird to me was you could buy a gun in Canadian Tire.
You can do that in North Bay.
You can't do that in Uxbridge. There
Really?
are air rifles and pellet guns, and
I'm pretty sure that you can buy a gun here in North Bay.
I think you can buy ammunition, but they don't actually sell the firearms.
Interesting. You know what? I'm not a hunter. I don't own a gun. It's not something that interests me. But I'm pretty sure. But you know what? That's a question. That's a question for later.
That's a
I guess.
question for Clark Ashenhurst. The guy who bought a gun with Canadian Tire money.
Yeah, well, there it is. You can buy guns at Canadian Tire.
But I think he bought it in Kenora.
You think so?
He lived there. I don't know. We'll talk to him, our old roommate, later. Ask him where he purchases his firearms.
This is a pro wrestling podcast. Cole, what are we talking about this week, my good man?
Well, something that we've talked about on this podcast and in our own conversations a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that the WWE is no longer the wrestling Olympus that it used to be.
Sure. Yeah, I would agree with that.
It's not this grand mountain that every wrestler aspires to climb. It's lost that kind of prowess.
Sure. I mean, I still would argue that for most North American wrestling fans, growing up, like, and I'm not going to give away any of the things on this list because I don't know your list, but I can guess a couple of them. Now, we haven't told the people we're talking about, but I would say that for the vast majority of North American wrestlers, it is most likely still at least a bucket list item for them to have a WrestleMania match. Because even though the WWE, I totally agree with you, even though the WWE is no longer quite, the place you gotta get to, it is still the place that most of the people grew up watching.
Oh, absolutely.
Does that make sense? But I agree with you.
So
it is no longer like the sole pinnacle of North American wrestling success.
Yes. So what the list that I came up with for this week, and this is going to be a 2-part list. So this week we're going to be talking about the top 5 wrestlers who didn't need the WWE to become famous.
Oh, okay. All right.
So this is a list of wrestlers who mostly have, some all but retired.
Sure.
But are world renowned. Now, most of them, to be clear, did wrestle in the WWE at some point, even for just one match.
Sure.
But their career was not dependent on that part of it.
Okay. All right.
And then at the end of the list, I'll tell you what we'll be talking about next time.
Sounds great. Well, Cole, without further ado, man, just start us off with number 5, the top 5 wrestlers who didn't need WWE for you to know about them. Go ahead, buddy. What's number 5?
So number 5 is the Diamond Cutter himself, Diamond Dallas Page.
DDP. Absolutely, buddy. That's kind of a good one. Yeah, that's a good one, man. That's a good one.
So for the history of Diamond Dallas Page, he started in 1988 for AWA as a manager.
Sure.
And then in 1991, he was signed a contract with WCW, also as a manager. He was not an actual wrestler when he started. And then about a year or two in, he made the transfer over to becoming a full-time wrestler. And in his time at WCW, which lasted for 10 years, he became a 3-time World Heavyweight Champion, 2-time United States Champion, 4-time Tag Team Champion, and a 1-time Television Champion. He also won the Triple Crown.
That's quite the resume, man. I mean, yeah, no, DDP's the real deal. And, you're absolutely right. He was not the kind of guy who, I mean, in fact, the WWE kind of screwed him right into the ground and kind of never used him to his full potential.
For those who don't know, the only reason he joined WWE to begin with was because they bought the company that he worked for.
Oh yeah, he never would have went to WWE without it.
Never.
For sure.
He went because that's where he had to go to keep his job. And he was only there for 1 year.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, he got screwed into the ground.
Well, he also was injured and almost died, but that's a whole other. He left because of injury.
Sure. No, I agree. I mean, DDP is a whole nother list all in his own too, you know, wrestling entrepreneurs.
Yep.
You know, the oldest wrestlers to get their career started. I mean, I think he was 38 years old or something like that when he started to be a wrestler?
Something like that. He was born in 1956.
Something crazy like that. He was a manager forever. And DDP won the hearts and the minds of people everywhere. And he was one of the very few homegrown WCW talents, that really resonated, being him. And, I'm not going to give another away because this fella is likely on your list as well. So I'll keep that one.
It has to be.
I'll keep that one under my collar for sure. But he ascended to levels in WCW that, you know, were really unprecedented, and he became one of the most popular wrestlers in the whole world.
Yep.
That 100%, man.
No, I think this is mainly
agree.
because of Ready to Rumble. Let's be honest here. Nothing.
No, he was...
I'm kidding. The only reason he is known in the public lens is because of Ready to Rumble.
Ready to Rumble.
By the way, have you listened to that podcast on Talk is Jericho?
Ready to Rumble?
No, with what's his name? The star of Ready to Rumble.
David Arquette.
Yeah, because he's making his return to wrestling. It's a good podcast.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely check that one out. I'm a big Ready to Rumble fan. I'm a mediocre David Arquette fan, and and a big Jericho fan. So I'll definitely check that out. No, I wonder. I just always wonder about DDP, about what exactly he had that fans really, because he was a heel originally, and he turned himself face, essentially.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he's a special wrestler.
Well, it's also interesting that he's as big as he is now, considering he only really had an 11-year wrestling career. I mean, he did some stuff in TNA starting in 2004, but that was only for a couple of years.
Sure. No, 100%. And you know what? There's a few wrestlers like that. You know what one blows my mind? The Rock.
Yeah.
The Rock only wrestled, basically, for like 6 years. He made his debut in 1996, and by 2002, he was already pretty phased out, and by 2003, 2004, he was like part-time and then gone. That's insane.
No, with The Rock, the only reason he's still as big as he is because he's actually a half-decent actor.
No, but even if you don't take his movie career, let's say he retired in 2003, 2004, he was one of the biggest, most popular professional wrestlers of all time.
Now, do you think that would have carried through
8 years
if he didn't go on to have a solid movie career?
I don't understand what his movie career has to do with how popular he was as a pro wrestler. He only got to be a movie star because he was as popular as he was as a pro wrestler. What I'm
saying is, do you think people would still be talking about him as the force of nature that he was if he wasn't still talked about in Hollywood?
Okay, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Like,
saying.
His movie career has kept him in the wrestler's eye for long enough where he's almost developed this mythical status.
No, I think The Rock had that, this is not a podcast about The Rock. We're going to get back to talking about DDP in a second, I promise, folks. The Rock, I think, he had that Jericho sort of flair where he was able to adapt.
Yeah.
The Rock would have seen the writing on the wall, and The Rock would have seen that it's time to evolve my character. It's time to figure out. The Rock as he was might not have been able to keep his legs out from under. Sure. But I think he could have. I think he could have evolved. No, that's a good point about DDP though. For real, 11 year wrestling career. That's it. I mean, you're looking at a guy like Chris Jericho, who's had basically a 25-year wrestling career at this point, right? And Triple H, who's been wrestling since the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, it's also with DDP. It's really interesting that despite only wrestling for 1 year with the company, he was still brought into the Hall of Fame. That's another thing which I find really, like, his development, his offering to the wrestling community is recognized so much that he was brought into the Hall of Fame despite only wrestling for 1 year for the company that owns the Hall of Fame.
No, I agree. His contribution to the business is almost unparalleled. Just because, wrestling itself, wrestling in general has such a high mortality rate, and he has helped at least two prominent WWE superstars and Hall of Famers, Jake Roberts and Scott Hall, kind of not die.
Yeah.
Like, I know that sounds silly, like I'm making a joke, but I'm not.
Well, and the amount of wrestlers the amount of wrestlers who claim that they're still wrestling because of him.
Yeah, sure. It's DDP's contribution to the business is almost unparalleled, for sure. 100%. Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, no, DDP's a great start. I can't believe he's only number 5. I can only really think of 2 others who gotta be on this list, so hit me with another one.
Number 4 is one who probably doesn't get brought up a lot, and it's the Great Muta.
Great Muta. Teach me a little bit about the Great Muta, because while I know his name, thus making your point, the fact that he became famous outside without the WWE machine, but I truthfully don't know a whole lot about him, so hit me with a little history, pal.
Now, he is the only person on this list who actually never wrestled a single match for the company. He, born in 1962, so around the same time as all of the people on this list. He's regarded as one of, if not the first, Japanese wrestler to become big outside of Japan. And that's why he's a step above DDP, because DDP had the North American market. But the Great Muta had to step outside of his comfort zone, and he broke ground for a lot of people who came after him. So another thing that puts him at this level, so he started his career in 1984, wrestled for the NWA in 1989-1990, and then spent several years off and on wrestling for New Japan Pro Wrestling and WCW, and then eventually in 2002 returned back to All Japan Pro Wrestling and was there until around 2013. And in this time, he has become one of 3 people in the history of wrestling to hold the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, the All Japan Pro Wrestling Triple Crown Heavyweight Championship, and the TWGP Heavyweight Championship.
Wow.
One of 3 wrestlers ever to hold those 3 titles.
Who are the other 2? Can you are they on the list?
No, they're not on the list. It's some Japanese wrestlers who I cannot remember off the top of my head.
You didn't write them down, Cole? Come on!
I am Googling it right now. Which I know you're disappointed at, but do you want...
Well, if you're confused about why I would be disappointed in Cole for Googling something so quickly, you're going to have to be a Patreon over at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca and hear our show before the show. We have some time where we talked about movies. We talked a little bit more about books from last week because Cole had the week off. And if you want to hear that episode, just head on over to patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca and you can give us a couple ducats for our bucket, support our dream, and you can hear a little bit more banter from Cole and myself, not always wrestling related, which is pretty cool. Cole and I buy enough time to get us those names, or what?
So, the other 2 people...
Boy.
And I also misspoke, it's the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. I think I said T for some reason.
Yeah, you did. You
Anyways,
friggin' doofus.
IWGP.
But,
so the other 2 wrestlers are Shinya Hashimoto and Satoshi Kojima.
See, they're not on this list because I don't know who they are.
Exactly. I'm sure they're huge if they were...
I'm sure they're gigantic in Japan.
Yeah. But they didn't cross the Pacific like Muta did.
Absolutely, man. Muta's something special. Was he, am I remembering, my Japanese legends properly? He was part of that, New Japan ROH Rumble, WrestleMedia weekend at Madison Square Garden, right?
I did not come across that. He might have been.
You didn't watch that, dude?
No, I didn't watch that.
You're a smark. You're supposed to watch that show. But I'm pretty sure that was the great Muta he's obviously fairly old now, but I mean, man, his entrance was still unbelievable. The crowd still popped for him. He's huge. His mask is still maybe the coolest mask in wrestling.
He doesn't wear a mask. It's face paint.
Okay, whatever. Face paint. Well, that's thick ass face paint.
Yeah, it's black with the characters on it.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Some other things which you might find interesting about the Great Muta. He's also regarded as being part of the bloodiest professional wrestling match of all time against Hiroshi Hase, which is why there's a thing called the Muta scale. Which
okay, what's the Muta scale?
A scale of how bloody a match is, with 1 being the Great Muta,
okay,
and 0 being no blood. Like he's ascended to this godlike status in the company, and also something that you might not know: he was the first one to use the green mist.
I did know
which
that.
is something that has been emulated by countless people in and outside of Japan in the pro wrestling world. Like he has, even if people don't know who he is, they've seen the ramifications of what he's done.
Absolutely. 100%.
He's also held a total of 22 championships in his career.
22?
22. Which...
That's like 22 different titles?
No, not different titles, but like in total.
That's not like that high of a number.
It is compared to a lot of the people who are in WWE. It's not to some of the other people on this list.
Interesting. Cause yeah, 22, like over, like 22 different reigns of like, so if he was the IWGP champion twice, like that counts as 2 of the 22 reigns?
I guess so. The page that I was reading just said 22, total of 22 championships.
I guess for his era, that's pretty rare. But I just feel like you look at a guy like even Ric Flair, or Edge. Edge is like a 13-time world champion, you know, and that's just Edge. It doesn't count his tag titles. Like Edge has probably been like a 30-time champion throughout all the titles he's held. Anyways, but era-wise, yeah, that's a pretty impressive number for sure.
Yeah, that's all I have on the Great Muta. I think he deserves to be on this list. He's also
agree,
one of the
man.
few people who like made it in WCW from Japan.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal.
Yeah, no, that's true. There wasn't a lot of Japanese success in North America. I mean, shoot, there still really isn't if you think about it, unfortunately. But you know, hopefully AEW and hopefully, you know, the independent scene will sort of change that. And I'd love to see, I mean, I was still hoping that Nakamura was going to be the first WWE champion, to be from Japan, but it's not looking good anymore.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about it.
Hey, this is a commercial for patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca, where you can get early access to episodes of your favorite WrestleMedia shows, get full uncut and uncensored versions of your favorite shows, and more. Don't want to hear this commercial on your podcast anymore? Sign up at our main event tier and get these episodes ad-free. Want to hear your own commercial here instead of ours? We've got tiers for that too. Visit patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca and join the WrestleMedia revolution today.
All right, man. Who's number 3?
Number 3 is another person from the Empire of Japan. And this is one who I'm sure this is Ultimo Dragon.
Ultimo Dragon. And you know what? ooh, this one's gonna be tough. I'm gonna have to divulge on Adam for this one at some point, just because I had kind of heard of the Ultimo Dragon before he came to WWE after the WCW went under. But I don't know. I don't know if he's on that list. Oh, I don't know. I mean, if he was going to be on this list, I think I would have him at number 5. Like, I kind of knew who he was, but I wouldn't say he was like gigantically famous over here, previous to his run in WWE. So maybe, just sell me on this one a little bit. I've got an open mind for it. Sell me on it.
So the thing with Ultimo Dragon, one of the main reasons that I have is that he holds a lot of records and respect in the business. So he currently holds the record for most concurrent championships held. Sure.
Oh yeah, I know he was, had 9 belts
10.
At one point? 10. Oh, that's, yeah, okay, yeah. Cause he, back in 1997, I guess?
1996, 97. So he held the J Crown.
Yeah.
Or he won the J Crown,
Yep.
which is 8 belts. He
Yep.
held the NWA World Middleweight Championship and the WCW Cruiserweight Championship belt.
Yep. No, his accolades are absolutely there. I'm not, just so everybody understands, I'm not crapping on Ultimo Dragon. I think that DDP was far more famous because of his time outside of WWE. Ultimo Dragon was a guy I'd sort of heard of, but, didn't really become, WWE didn't really do anything to make him really famous, but I'm kind of selling myself on it, but I still think he's more of a number 5. I don't think you're wrong, but I don't know if he deserves to be number 3.
Hear me out. The reason that I have him higher on the list is like DDP, yes, he was popular without WWE, but he was only popular in North America. Ultimo Dragon was extremely popular in Japan. He spent 6 years in Mexico wrestling for Lucha Libre Productions. And he also made it in several North American markets. Well, Mexico is North America, in several US markets. Wrestling for WCW and for WWE. And the WWE run didn't help him in any way.
No. It really didn't. That's the only problem I'm having, Cole, is not, does Ultimo Dragon deserve to be on this list? He absolutely does. I'm never gonna argue against that. I just think that he was objectively far less famous without WWE than DDP was. DDP was way more famous without needing it. Anyways, no, that's great, man. Ultimo Dragon definitely deserves on this list. He was one of the most dynamic wrestlers. He had some tremendous matches, with, Rey Mysterio in WCW in 1996, Dean Malenko, Mr. Jerry Lynn, you're totally right. Ultimo Dragon had a match with Jericho in Japan that allegedly basically got him hired for WCW. Like he's the real deal.
Yeah.
Ultimo Dragon's no joke. I'm a huge fan of the Ultimo Dragon.
Now, one thing, and this goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, his run in WWE is something that he wanted. So when we were talking about at the beginning how most people, like, it was the dream to wrestle for WWE. For him, the reason he wanted to wrestle for the company was to fulfill 2 dreams that he had: to wrestle at Madison Square Gardens and to wrestle at WrestleMania.
Sure.
And he was with the company for 1 year and it was not great. Then he asked for his release.
And you know what? I find it interesting. He's one of the very few Japanese talents I've ever heard really say that. Because the reason why at the start of this episode, why I talked about how it being a North American wrestler dream is because, honestly, I don't know how many Japanese wrestlers really wanted to come over to America. They had All Japan Wrestling. They had Noah. They had New Japan. They had, Wrestle and Romance. They had all sorts of their own promotions over there where, they wanted to be a Japanese wrestling superstar. So Ultimo Dragon's one of those guys who, and, Shinsuke Nakamura obviously saw that as a challenge. He wanted to, come over and take care of Kushida, obviously, Chima and, people like that who are coming over and it's becoming more common now, but Ultimo Dragon came along at a time where Japanese wrestlers weren't coming over that often because it didn't matter to them.
I think part of it is his time in WCW and Toriyaman. So his time or Toriyaman, the Mexican wrestling promotion. So it's his time with Jericho and the people of WCW and with the luchadors of Mexico, where I'm sure, was even privy to the status of WWE in the wrestling world.
Oh yeah. No, he definitely would have heard a lot more about WWE from, his time in Mexico and stuff like that, and probably got kind of the bug from there. Ultimo Dragon, like I said, Cole, I'm only busting your balls a little bit on it because I don't know if he's earned his position on this list, but his inclusion on this list is second to none. I did know who he was, even before the WWE run. So that's a good one, man. I think I got your top two kind of pegged, but
do you?
Just give them to me. Well, you know what? I'm actually a little confused now because I'm now thinking of three guys who should probably be on this list. Maybe even four. So I'm curious which direction you're going.
So number two is once again another guy from Japan. And this is the esteemed Jushin Thunder Liger.
Huh.
Did he not even cross your mind?
That's a good one. He didn't cross my mind, but that's a good one.
I couldn't not. I had him at number one for a while.
But it makes me more confused because I think your list might be wrong then.
It might be. No, it's not wrong, Andrew. This is the correct list for the topic today. And yours is wrong, always.
Wow.
I had to go there. Anyways. Back to...
Okay, stop for a second.
So Jushin Thunder Liger, he started his wrestling career in 1984 for New Japan Pro Wrestling. And he's still there. He's come and he's gone, but that has been his home base for his entire career. That's over 30 years of wrestling.
It's pretty insane.
There are not many people, if any, who started at that time and are still wrestling. I think he's on his retirement tour at the moment.
He is, I believe, on his retirement tour, yes.
So, what are we at? 35 years.
That's amazing.
He has wrestled over 4,000 matches. So he became Jushin Thunder Liger in 1990. And in his time, he is an 11-time junior heavyweight champion. He holds the record for the longest reign at 628 days. He won Best of the Super Juniors 3 times. He is a 6-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champion and a 2-time Super J-Cup winner. He has wrestled for All-Star Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, WCW, ROH, TNA, Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre, several indies, and he has wrestled 2 matches for the WWE.
What was the first one? I know the Tyler Breeze match from NXT. Where else has he wrestled for WWE?
The first one, they counted this as WWE. It was in 1990. It was a cross-promotion event at the Tokyo Dome.
Gotcha.
With New Japan Pro Wrestling and All Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yep. And it was probably for the old WWF Junior Heavyweight Championship or something?
I'm not sure. It was against Akira Nagami.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, so I mean that barely
counts.
Wow. Yeah. No, Liger. I'm embarrassed that he didn't cross my mind.
No, what's his? Do you know what his second match for the company is?
Well, I mean, I know he had a match with Tyler Breeze at NXT.
Yeah, that's it. That's his only other match for WWE.
Okay. I was gonna say I mentioned that. Were you not listening to me? Come on, man.
Oh, I did not hear that. I just tune you out once in a while.
That's fair. Everybody should probably do that. It's fine.
I don't know how that match came about, or necessarily why. They asked for him, and he came and had a 13-minute match against Tyler Breeze, which is available for free to watch on WWE.com. I watched it today.
For free?
Yep.
Nice. How was the match?
It was pretty good. It was a 13-minute match. The crowd wasn't super hot.
Which is so weird. It's freaking Jushin Thunder Liger. And they were wrestling at Full Sail.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of like Full Sail sucks chants, which I was confused about.
Full Sail sucks?
I think that's what they were chanting. I couldn't understand. It was pretty jumbled.
Weird.
I don't know.
You could probably watch it on the network. So maybe I'll have to watch it on the network.
Yeah, tell me what they were chanting. Correct me.
I'll do my best. No, Jushin Thunder Liger, great addition to this list. I don't even know what else to say or add. I don't know how much stuff you got on him.
He has held over 40 championships.
Now that sounds like a big number.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That it's something, man. Jushin Thunder, his mask is legendary.
Yeah.
If you don't at least know what he looks like, you know his name. You've
heard of this man.
Oh, totally.
From Japan.
100% number 2, number 1. I don't think anybody's wrong for putting it at number 1. Cole, you're going to be missing at least one guy on this list that needs to be there. So we'll talk honorable mentions just after you get to your first one. What is number 1, man? Which one did you go with?
It's Sting.
Of course it's Sting. But it means you're missing Goldberg.
Yeah, I guess so. He didn't even come across any of the lists that I was searching.
That's crazy. That's insane. We will talk about Sting. 100% we'll talk about Sting. But Goldberg absolutely counts. You know who else I would count? And he would definitely be an honorable mention, I think. Even if I was building my own list, but I think he deserves a mention because he hit new stardom heights when he came to the WWE. Don't get me wrong, but he was very famous before he got there. I knew about him, and it's Rob Van Dam.
Really? I have other honorable mentions. I didn't think about him either.
Rob Van Dam is a guy who 100% became far more famous and a way bigger household name when he joined WWE. Yeah. So he probably wouldn't have made my list, but this guy was huge even before he got there. I mean, he was a standout ECW star and people wanted him to come to WWE for years. Who else do you have on your honorable mentions?
Mitsuharu Misawa is regarded as one of the most prominent Japanese wrestlers ever.
For sure. Kento Kobashi, gotta be on that list.
El Santo, have you ever heard of him?
Kind of.
He's regarded as one of the most popular Lucha Libre wrestlers of all time. I was trying to look up some Latino people, but I couldn't really find many. He was one who kept popping up.
Mil Mascaris comes to mind for me.
And one that I thought of, but couldn't put on the list because he has had a prominent career in WWE, is AJ Styles.
AJ Styles, dude, that's, I think he still counts. Again, he'd probably fall under the territory as a Rob Van Dam, probably have to add him as a, honorable mention, even if this was my list, but totally AJ Styles counts.
Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles, I think, are two people. AJ Styles more so.
Nakamura, I think counts a little less than AJ Styles just because, I don't think people necessarily knew who Shinsuke Nakamura was in North America, unless you were a big New Japan fan.
Unless you just watched the indies.
Until he wrestled, until he wrestled AJ Styles.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I can't pretend to know exactly who Shinsuke Nakamura was before he had that match and then came to WWE. So those are some good ones. But dude, how did Goldberg not come up on any of your research or any of your lists? He's got to be on this list, man. He's got to be. He's huge.
I am not. All of the lists that I came across, tried to find people. I just didn't find anything. I also just don't like him. So
weird.
There's that.
Shut up,
There's a lot of prejudice in my list, man.
Oh,
just don't like him.
Anyways, let's talk about if he's not the obvious number one, it's gotta be Sting.
Yeah.
He was huge. He was gigantic. You know what? Ric Flair probably should technically count, by the way, because sure, he came to WWE, but it was a big deal when he came to WWE. He was the NWA champion forever. But I think the reason why he would fall off a lot of people's lists is that he spent some time in the WWE, in the mid-90s, and then basically ended his career in the company. So I think he gets kind of lost in the shuffle. Sting is a guy.
And he's still very much connected with the company. That's the thing. My list was based on people who, like, even if they had a span in the company, it wasn't substantial at all.
Sure.
Like, yeah.
But Sting, man, that guy, he would not come to WWE for the longest time, and which is honestly probably a little silly. Just because I think he's not a guy obviously driven totally by money.
For him.
Sure, it could have, but he would have made a lot of money while doing it. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying it was a creative mistake that he made.
Yeah.
I'm saying that if he wanted to make a lot of money, he made a big mistake not coming to WWE.
Yeah.
He had a great career in TNA. His TNA run not only helped the company, reach heights that it was not probably possible without him, but he got to be part on a small scale wrestling, promotion. But bottom line is, there's no way he wouldn't have made more money that whole time wrestling for WWE.
Oh, absolutely. But
there's no way.
He's a person who cared more about the product than the money.
100%. I agree. And I want to be very clear when I say it was only a financial mistake he made.
Yeah. It's the reason why Sting is number 1 and DDP is number 5.
Yeah.
They had the same career going up to 2001.
I don't think that's true, but
very similar direction of career.
Direction, okay.
Not the same career. Sting was much more prominent.
Gotcha, okay. Oh, yeah, because, Sting was a top guy for years.
But it was the same direction.
Gotcha. Yeah. That makes more sense.
WCW folded, was bought out. DDP went with the money and the company. Sting said, I don't really like how this is going. I'm going to choose my own path. And really, he's one of, if not the first North American guy to actually do so. And I think a lot of the
you may be right about that.
And I think a lot of the people now who are in the business and who are working out their career without the WWE probably. Now don't have any research on this, but I'd say they probably look up to Sting as some sort of idol model in that way of wrestling, in the way of working out the business.
It's certainly possible. I think another guy that, doesn't really deserve to be on this list, but that other indie wrestlers probably look to, is a guy like Colt Cabana.
Yeah.
Who has really made his name among indie wrestling fans. He spent a small time in WWE. He did dip his toe in the WWE water and didn't work out for him. But he proved that you could make a lot of money doing the indies. And, guys like, not to spoil upcoming lists. Now with this, I don't know who's going to be on your list, although I'm sure this fellow will. A guy like Kenny Omega, is sort of living that out. The Bucks, proving that you can make a lot of money. Christopher Daniels, great example. Frankie Kazarian, guys like that who are making good money.
Pretty
and
much the
doing well
entire
and getting their name out there.
AEW roster.
Well, the top
Yes.
guys, anyways, the top guys in the company, anyways. But no, Sting, I think you're right. I would be very surprised if I'm sure he was an inspiration to everybody in the TNA locker room. Listen, we can do this. I'm here. I believe in this product. And let's give this a shot. Let's give it a real honest to goodness shot. I'm sure that you're right when it comes to, people quoting, Sting as an inspiration to, hey, we can make this work without the WWE.
Yep. And he came to the company, but he didn't need to. It was kind of like an end of his career. Might as well. Yeah, no,
100%, man. And I wish it had gone differently. I wish that it had, gone a different way a little bit. I wish he hadn't got, I wish he hadn't let Seth Rollins give him 2 buckle bombs.
Yeah.
Cause I don't know. Anyways, I'm not a wrestler. I don't know how much things hurt, but I'm sure there's not very many safe ways to take that bump. It's tough to take one, let alone 2 of them. So, Sting, definitely the top of the tops on this list. If he, it's an arguably number 1, him and Liger, kind of depending on your taste, I think, because...
That's what they were number 1 and 2 for me. I feel like I had to have a Japanese wrestler and a North American guy to round it out.
No, I think that's tremendous. I think that, you can't go wrong. So, feel free to hit us up on Twitter or Facebook, wherever you like.
Who did
I
forget? Because there are quite a few people I came across who were old that I hadn't even heard of them.
100%. I'm thinking Magnum TA.
Yep.
Who knows what his career would have looked like, but he was a pretty big star without WWE. Dusty Rhodes obviously was gigantic. Even the Road Warriors, they were huge. The Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express, through the territory days. I'm sure there's lots of people, and obviously you chose to go with a little bit more of a modern twist, and I don't think you're wrong to do that. But yeah, obviously there's a ton of people so that could have qualified for this list, from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, kind of before the WWE became the industry leader and sort of changed the way wrestling was watched. So hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you like to chat with us. Come by and let us know who we missed, who sort of made your list. Give us your top 5. Give us your top 50. We don't care. We love to talk about wrestling. That's what we do. That's why we do the podcast here on WrestleMedia. So, Cole, next time that you're on, we're going to be talking the same sort of sister list, right? We're going to be talking about wrestlers who currently do not need WWE to be pro wrestling household names, correct?
Yeah, so as this list looked backwards at wrestlers and the wrestling industry, next time we'll be looking at the present and forwards, looking at people who I think, at the moment, and who in the future will never wrestle for WWE, or will not need WWE to be the household names that they are and will become.
Amazing. I'm looking forward to that because I see a lot of kind of debate on the horizon on that one, so I'm looking forward to that. Next week, folks, I've been drowning myself in the NXT main events. I'm going cross-eyed watching so much. NXT main events, that's what we're talking about next week. The best 5 NXT main events that I personally have seen. I'm looking forward to it. Cole, do you have anything else to add on this list topic today?
Nope. Just watch all the wrestling you can.
Watch it all. WWE
because there are people out there who you will never see in the WWE. And hopefully this list has shown you that there is so much more wrestling out there than just what is happening in North America. And it's all good. It's not all good. Nope, not that. A large portion of it is good.
Sure.
I don't want anybody blaming me for the deep dives that they ended up going down.
All right, folks. Well, thank you so much, as always, for listening to We Have Till 5. I am Andrew. That's Cole. And when it comes to the top 5 wrestlers who did not need the WWE machine to become the household names that they are today, we're breaking the hole.
This has been a presentation of WrestleMedia, where everything is wrestling and wrestling is everything. Here's what you're missing out on right now over at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca.
No, didn't you and I watch Tallulah about, it's got Ellen Page and she steals the baby?
Yes, we did watch that one.
Oh my gosh. That was like, I enjoyed the movie, but it was so uncomfortable and so frustrating for the whole movie because it was like no likable character. Like, at the end of the day, no matter what, like, she kind of is or what she sort of said she was or whatever she sort of seemed like, she was a bad person, Tallulah. That was her name, right?
I think
like
so.
She was
yeah.
not
a couple
like Ellen
left
Page's
her
character?
a baby to look after.
Yeah,
and then she ran away with it because
the
they said that they didn't want it, but they really did, and she just wasn't listening.
What a friggin' crock that movie was.
Want more? Sign up now at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca.